Some of these machines are over 70 years old, and they're still pulling plows, running farms, and outlasting every modern tractor parked next to them. No computer screens, no sensors, no dealership required to replace a part. Just cast iron, raw horsepower, and engineering so overbuilt it borders on obsession. These vintage tractors weren't just made to last, they were made to be indestructible. Number 1. John Deere Model D, 1923-1953. Let's kick things off with the longest-running tractor model in John Deere history, the Model D. This machine was in continuous production for 30 full years, from 1923 to 1953, which is a record that still stands in the tractor world. The Model D was powered by a 2-cylinder horizontal engine, a design so simple that a farmer could rebuild it with basic tools in a barn. Its engine displacement started at 465 cubic inches and was later expanded to 501 cubic inches, producing around 42 drawbar horsepower by the later years of production. That might not sound like much compared to today's 600 horsepower monsters, but for its era this was a powerhouse. What made the Model D legendary wasn't just raw power, it was the build quality. The engine block was cast iron through and through, and the transmission was built with massive tolerances. Farmers who bought a Model D in 1930 were still using it in 1970. Many of those machines are still running today on hobby farms and in tractor pull competitions. John Deere sold approximately 160,000 Model D tractors over its production run. Parts were cheap, repairs were simple, and the machine almost never wore out. That's the kind of legacy modern manufacturers simply cannot replicate, because there's no profit in a tractor that never needs to be replaced. Number 2. Farmall M, 1939-1952. If you grew up on a Midwestern American farm in the mid-20th century, there's a very good chance your family owned a Farmall M International Harvester. Introduced this tractor in 1939, and it became the best-selling farm tractor in American history for much of its production run. The Farmall M was powered by a 247.7 cubic inch 4-cylinder engine, producing about 36 drawbar horsepower. What separated it from competitors was its row crop design. The narrow front end allowed it to straddle crop rows, making it incredibly versatile for corn and cotton farmers. But what truly sets the Farmall apart is its longevity. The engine was cast iron, the frame was cast iron, and the entire drivetrain was built with thick metal that absorbed punishment without complaint. Farmers routinely reported running their M's for 10,000, 15,000, even 20,000 hours without a full engine rebuild. International Harvester produced more than 270,000 Farmall M tractors, and it's estimated that tens of thousands are still in working condition today, nearly 85 years after the first one rolled off the assembly line in Rock Island, Illinois. You can still buy new old stock replacement parts for many M components because the demand has never gone away. Number 3. Allis-Chalmers WD-45, 1953-1957. The Allis-Chalmers WD-45 might be the most underrated tractor on this list. Produced for only 4 years, from 1953 to 1957, it packed engineering innovations that were decades ahead of their time. The WD-45 was the first production farm tractor in America to use a live PTO, meaning the power takeoff shaft ran independently of the transmission. This allowed operators to run implements like mowers and balers continuously, even when slowing down or stopping the tractor. That feature is now standard on virtually every tractor made today, powered by a 226 cubic inch 4-cylinder gasoline engine, producing around 43 horsepower. The WD-45 also offered a snap coupler hitch system that allowed one person to hook up implements without leaving the seat. The hydraulic system was impressively refined for 1953. The reason the WD-45 shows up on this list is its structural durability. The main frame was a single cast iron casting, one piece of metal forming the backbone of the entire tractor. There are no welds to crack, no joints to loosen. Allis-Chalmers built approximately 83,000 WD-45 tractors, and an extraordinary number of them remain in operational condition, a testament to that bulletproof cast iron construction. Number 4. Oliver 88, 1947-1954. Oliver was always known for making fast tractors. and the Oliver 88 was no exception. Introduced in 1947, the 88 was powered by a 231 cubic inch six-cylinder engine, which was unusual for the era when most competitors were still running four-cylinder engines. The six-cylinder design gave the Oliver 88 smoother power delivery and more thermal efficiency. It produced around 42 drawbar horsepower, and the engine was notably over-square in its design, meaning the bore was larger relative to the stroke, an approach that reduces engine wear over time. Oliver built the 88 with an extremely robust rear axle and differential housing. In the farming world, rear axle failures were a common and expensive headache on many tractors of that era. Oliver engineers overbuilt theirs significantly. The result was a tractor that could handle heavy draft loads, like pulling a four-bottom plow through clay soil, without the drivetrain complaining. Collectors and working farmers today still prize the Oliver 88 for this reason. The six-cylinder engine, combined with that overbuilt rear end, means many of these tractors have outlasted 2 and 3 generations of farm families. Number 5. Minneapolis Moline UDLX Comfort Tractor 1938. This one is an outlier, and that's exactly why it belongs on this list. In 1938, Minneapolis Moline introduced the UDLX, which they called the Comfort Tractor. It was the first tractor ever designed with a fully enclosed cab, complete with a passenger seat, a heater, a radio, and a speedometer. It could travel at speeds up to 40 miles per hour on public roads. Minneapolis Moline was ahead of their time by about 30 years. The enclosed cab concept wouldn't become standard on farm tractors until the late 1960s and 1970s. The UDLX was powered by a 283 cubic inch four-cylinder engine, producing about 40 horsepower. The build quality was exceptional. The enclosed cab was steel. The chassis was massively overbuilt to handle road speeds, and the entire machine was designed with longevity in mind. However, the UDLX was a commercial failure. At $2,155 in 1938, roughly equivalent to $46,000 today, it was simply too expensive for Depression-era farmers. Minneapolis Moline sold only about 150 units before discontinuing the model. That rarity makes surviving examples extremely valuable today, with restored models selling for $150,000 to $200,000 at auction. The ones that survived did so because they were built so well that even decades of use couldn't kill them. Number 6. Case VT 1942-1955. The Case VAC was a workhorse that never sought the spotlight. And that's part of what made it so enduring. Introduced in 1942 during World War II, this small row crop tractor was built with military-grade attention to durability because steel and materials were at a premium. The VAC ran a 124 cubic inch four-cylinder Continental-built engine, producing around 23 drawbar horsepower. That's modest, but the genius of the VAC was in its proportions. It was light enough to be maneuverable in truck gardens and orchards, but its frame, axles, and transmission were built to the same tolerances as Case's much larger tractors. The Eagle hitch system introduced on the VAC was Case's proprietary three-point hitch equivalent. It allowed faster implement changes than almost anything on the market at the time. Case produced the VAC line through multiple variants, including the VAC 14, and the total production numbers ran into the tens of thousands. What farmers discovered was that a Case VAC properly maintained could run essentially forever. The simplicity of the Continental engine, a design with wide-bearing surfaces and excellent oil circulation, meant these engines rarely needed major work. Many VAC tractors in daily use today have original, unrebuilt engines with well over 10,000 hours on them. Number 7. Ford 8N 1947-1952. The Ford 8N is probably the most recognized vintage tractor in North America. Henry Ford had been making tractors since the Fordson in 1917, but the 8N, introduced in 1947, represented the pinnacle of that legacy. Powered by a 119.7 cubic inch four-cylinder engine producing about 26 horsepower, the 8N seems modest on paper. But Ford engineers made several decisions that guaranteed this machine's immortality. They used the Ferguson system 3-point hitch, developed by Harry Ferguson, which automatically adjusted draft loads to keep the tractor from nosing up under heavy pulls. This was a safety and efficiency innovation that transformed farming. The 8N also featured a 4-speed transmission, at a time when many competitors only offered 3, and the build quality was exceptional. Ford was still running its River Rouge manufacturing complex with wartime-level quality controls in those immediate post-war years. Ford produced approximately 524,000 Ford 8N tractors between 1947 and 1952, making it one of the highest production vintage tractors ever built. The sheer number produced means parts are still widely available and inexpensive. But more importantly, the mechanical simplicity and solid construction mean these tractors remain in daily service on small farms, orchards, and hobby properties across the country. Go to any rural farm auction in America today, and there's a very strong chance a Ford 8N will cross the block. And when it does, it will sell, because people know it will keep running. Number 8. Massey Harris 44, 1947-1958. Massey Harris was a Canadian manufacturer that often got overshadowed by American giants like Deere and International Harvester. But the Massey Harris 44 was quietly one of the best engineered tractors of its generation. The 44 was available in multiple engine configurations, including gasoline, diesel, and distillate, a cheaper fuel than gasoline, also called tractor vaporizing oil. The gasoline version used a Continental 260 cubic inch 4-cylinder engine, producing around 44 drawbar horsepower. The diesel version used a Massey Harris-built engine that was known for exceptional longevity. What set the 44 apart was its hydraulic system and its build philosophy. Massey Harris engineers used thicker casting walls than most competitors, particularly in the transmission housing and the rear axle carrier. The result was a drivetrain that could absorb the punishment of hard pulling without cracking or failing. Massey Harris produced the 44 for over a decade with incremental improvements, and the total production run exceeded 90,000 units. Today, the 44 is a favorite among vintage tractor pullers because the original drivetrain can handle enormous stress loads that would destroy comparable tractors from other manufacturers. That's not just nostalgia talking, it's engineering reality. Number 9. John Deere 720 Diesel 1956-1958. John Deere's 2-cylinder engine philosophy, often mocked by competitors who called it the Johnny Popper, turned out to be one of the most durable engine designs ever put into a farm tractor. The 720 diesel represents the absolute peak of that 2-cylinder era. Introduced in 1956, the 720 diesel was powered by a 376 cubic inch 2-cylinder diesel engine, producing around 59 drawbar horsepower. That made it one of the most powerful 2-cylinder tractors ever produced. The engine ran at just 1,125 RPM at full load, an extraordinarily low operating speed that dramatically reduced wear on all moving parts. Because the engine turned so slowly, bearing surfaces lasted far longer than incomparable 4- and 6-cylinder engines running at 1,800 to 2,200 RPM. John Deere engineers also specified exceptionally thick cylinder walls and oversized main bearings, giving the engine enormous reserves of material before any critical dimensions wore beyond specification. The 720 diesel also introduced a 24-volt starting system, two 12-volt batteries in series, along with a small gasoline pony motor that fired up first to warm the diesel engine. This cold start system was brilliantly reliable and allowed the 720 to start and work in temperatures far below what most diesel tractors of the era could handle. John Deere ended 2-cylinder production in 1960 with the new generation 4-cylinder tractors. But many farmers who owned 720 diesels refused to trade them in. Those machines were simply too well built, too reliable, and too easy to maintain to give up. Survivors today regularly trade at $15,000 to $25,000 or more at auction. Number 10. International Harvester Farm All 560 1958-1963. We close this list with a tractor that has one of the most complicated legacies in American agricultural history, the Farmall 560. Introduced in 1958, the 560 was International Harvester's answer to John Deere's increasingly powerful tractor lineup. The 560 was initially offered with a 281 cubic inch 6-cylinder engine producing about 60 PTO horsepower in gasoline configuration. A diesel version followed. By the standards of the late 1950s, this was a genuinely powerful tractor, and International Harvester sold them in enormous numbers, approximately 62,000 units in the first few years. Here's where the story gets complicated. The early 560 models suffered from a significant transmission weakness. Specifically, the final drive bull gears and the rear axle housings were not adequately sized for the power the engine produced. This led to a wave of failures and a massive and costly recall and retrofit program by International Harvester, but IH fixed it. They upgraded the transmission, strengthened the final drives, and continued production through 1963. And the retrofitted 560, or any 560 with the upgraded transmission, became one of the most durable tractors of its era. The reason the 560 makes this list is what happened after the fix. The corrected drivetrain, combined with that powerful 6-cylinder engine, produced a tractor with almost legendary longevity. Post-retrofit 560s routinely racked up 15,000 to 20,000 hours before needing major work. The engine, once the drivetrain was no longer destroying itself, proved nearly indestructible under normal farm use. The 560 story is really a story about over-engineering saving a flawed machine. Once IH matched the drivetrain strength to the engine output, they had a tractor that outlasted everything around it. So that's it for today. If you like this video, then please hit the like and subscribe button for more videos. Thanks for watching.